Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to make a quick video because I'm feeling very defeated right now. And no matter how hard you try, things are never going to go as planned, especially when we're talking about the weather. So as you can see behind me, we're melting. We had an insane amount of snow for quite a while. We were in a polar vortex, crazy snow, crazy winds, blizzard-like conditions, very, very cold. And for that short time, it lasted about 2 weeks, but for that short time, I was very, very happy that I had switched to round bales this year. The thought of having to go out multiple times a day, early in the morning before shift, into the evening, feeding cows small square bales did not appeal to me, and I was happy that I didn't have to do it, on top of the fact that, again, going into work for 24 hours at a time, where the weather can change so much or it's so cold, feeding the animals everything that they were going to have available to them for the day in the form of small squares early in the morning would not have been best for them, because there would be more hay on the ground than they could eat in one sitting. And with the heavy amounts of snowfall we were having, the high winds in small square form, the minute they broke open those bales, that stuff would either be covered up by snow, they'd lay on it because it was finally something warm and dry and clean, not snowy, that they could lay on, or, like I said, the winds were so bad that it just would have dispersed that small square throughout the pasture. I saw it every year prior, feeding small squares, that on high wind days, they lost so much of their feed availability simply because it just blew away. So I was very happy for that short amount of time to be feeding large rounds. Well, because I got happy and because things were going well, Mother Nature had to throw me a curveball, and we've been under an insane thaw. It has been high 40s and even low to mid 50s for about a week now. Very bright sunshine. We had over a foot of snow on the ground. Then we started getting rain. Then we started getting all this melting, and it has just become so soft, and things are getting muddy. And I'm at the place now where I wish I didn't have large rounds. Oh my gosh, they are destroying the pasture, and it is killing me. It is absolutely killing me to see this. One, just because of obviously the health of your pasture. This is not good for the soil microbes, for the pasture, for the future grass growth, to have this much negative impact on the ground. And two, because I'm legitimately trying to avoid this stuff, and I try and run cattle in a way that I can avoid stuff like this, and it's not going well for me. And so it's very, very easy to be getting kind of negative about this, all the time and effort that I put into trying to do things differently, and it still is not going well. On top of that, man, the cows just look rough. And I know this time of year, you get into those rough hair coats that look a little messy. I don't know. The cows they're just not looking great right now. And I don't know if that's just because I'm feeling negative about everything else. Been seeing them scratching a lot, so no doubt they have some sort of lice going on. Could they have a parasite load? Sure, that's always a possibility. I don't worm the animals. I don't do any feed throughs. I don't do any pour-ons. So it's always possible that they could have internal parasites going on. But they're just looking skinny. They're looking skinny and bony. And again, it's probably just the day, because stuff kind of waxes and wanes every day, it seems like. But the other thing I was super happy about with feeding large rounds was the fact that they could self-regulate. They could eat as much as they want. They weren't limited to the amount of small square feed that I was putting out every day. And when I was going through my first couple round bales, man, the cows were just fat and happy. They were looking great. And I thought, this is perfect. I'm going to have no more sunken rumens. I'm going to have full bellies. I'm going to have big, fat, beautiful cows and steers. And it just seems like over the last couple weeks, they're just looking thin. They're just looking a little bony. I will say that the weather change does not help. Again, we went through that polar vortex. We were -40, -50 with wind chills. Our actual temps were, -10, 15, -20. We had that. Then we went to still cold but dry, a lot of snowfall. So they were actually doing a lot better during that time. And then we went to this kind of warm up and we started getting rain. And now the animals were getting wet hair coats. They were out in the rain. It wasn't truly cold enough for them to hide out in the shed. You know, you get all those animals under cover, and they put off enough body heat that they get too hot. So most of them were outside. They were just wet, you know. And so I know this weather has been tough on them. I will say it has been, the only positive about this weather change is it has been nice to kind of figure out where I'm going to be out with round bales. I'm curious to see what I'm going to get with this round bale I just put out, being as now we're kind of in this warm up. When I got 7 days, that was during that cold snap. It didn't surprise me that the cows were eating more than normal. So the bale before that, they got 9 days. Then they went 7 days during that cold snap. Then they went 7 days again for the next bale, another week. And that was when we had the rain. So I was actually happy that a bale was lasting me 7 days when the cows were, you know, arguably probably using more energy to stay warm during the wet, rainy 30 degrees. Than they were when it was, you know, -15, but it was nice and dry. So 7 days with that. So now that we're in this this thaw, the weather's being a lot more cooperative temperature wise. I'm hoping I can get more than 9 days out of an 1,800-pound bale in a ring. Some of you might be asking, well, why were you not feeding your small squares? And my small squares were purchased for that March mud month. The biggest difference that March has as opposed to this time of year, not this year, but normally, is that there's a good chance for rain in March. So you factor in all that melting, all the thawing, and then rain falling from the sky. It's very wet and very muddy. So I just didn't want to risk the fact that I was going to use up most of my small squares and be left with feeding large rounds on March 15th, March 20th, April 1st, when the ground was super soft and saturated with added rainfall. I obviously have that lot up by the barn that you guys see where I work cattle. That's where their water is. The animals are already up there quite a bit. I mean, it's called a mud lot for a reason. My parents have called that the mud lot since we moved out here in '98. Should I just be dropping the bale in the ring up there at the mud lot and saying, okay, I'm not going to be applying free nutrients to my pasture, but I'm also not going to be beating the crap out of the pasture. I don't know. Again, just things I have to figure out every year. This is my first year feeding rounds, and this is honestly the first winter we've had that has been this warm. I hope this didn't come out as just like a negative Nelly complain session video for y'all, but yeah, I just wanted to show again that things just don't always go as planned, and no matter how awesome things look out here, I am struggling with my own set of of issues. You know, my only saving grace, I think, will be the fact that this pasture will not be touched the minute the cows start calving, which, you know, they're getting into their third trimester. So I think the first calving, again, we're only having 2 this year. Don't get me started down that path, but the first calf should be dropping, you know, first week of May. So the minute that happens, the animals will be going up, the herd will be going up to that enclosed 2.5 acre pasture up there by the house. And then as soon as I feel like that 16 acre lease up the road is ready, I'm actually going to try running the herd on that lease this spring and kind of change up the time of year that all of my pastures and all of my leased pastures get grazed. All right, guys, that's it. Questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, you know what to do. Go ahead and leave them down below. I appreciate everyone who interacts with me, that gives me ideas, that lets me know that, you know, what I'm doing is helping them. You all inspire me very much to keep doing this, and this little community that we have of little micro ranches, I feel like is amazing.